13th of Friday. Lucky 13. And I hope everybody is feeling good as we come up to the Christmas break. This is the second last broadcast for the year. I finish up next Friday with the last one, and then I'm off for 4 weeks. Coming back on the 24th of January, that Friday. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. That's a bit better. It's RF is just getting. Excuse me. RF was getting into my external speaker. So I've just disabled that, so I'm not hearing it anymore. Also, we're all on our YouTube, so the stream is happening on the YouTube as I speak. And hopefully the RF won't kick out the modem in this next hour or so. So we should be right. And I think the level is just picking into the red every so often. So I don't think the level into YouTube should be too loud. But folks can send me a report. You can send an email to vk3ekh@gmail.com. vk3ekh@gmail.com if you can send us a report. We're also, like I say, in the Discord medium. So when it comes to Discord, if you haven't done it yet, just go to the Discord website and download or register on Discord. And on my QRZ.com page, both QRZ.com pages for VK3EKH and VK3CSJ, I provide some information about Discord and the link. There's a link, a universal type link, that allows you to go to the chat room and also see the HD stream, which is just a split second behind the sound you hear live on 80 meters, unlike YouTube, where it's 20-second delay. So I highly recommend Discord as a medium to be able to view the visions side of this. Okay, I think that's about it. We'll see you all next week. All right, we've got a solar report from Tamitha tonight. It was released a couple of days ago, so it's a little old, but it does cover up until this weekend. So I'll run that in the next half hour. In the meantime, we have just a handful of reports, articles to go through, just to fill up the hour. We'll see how we go. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Anyway, so, like I say, we're on Discord, we're on YouTube. To find the YouTube stream, VK3CSJ, just type in VK3CSJ in the search engine and look for the live indicator for tonight's broadcast. And like I say, all the lights are green on the modem at the moment. Let me just check Discord right now, and I can see we've already got 3 people there. G'day Bruce, Steve, and VK3FST Sam. Welcome. And I'll just have a quick look at the chat room. And I see that Steve, VK3SBX, is there. He says 59 plus 30. And Sam is also there down at Winnable. Good. He's indicating audio on what's that? Audio in good on Discord. Oh yeah, okay, cool, right. Okay, okay, that's good. I'm glad. All right, and you can see my producer in the background there, little Kiska. See, she's not dead. All right, let me see. The ASV had its monthly meeting last Wednesday, and which featured the presentation on Colin Stanley Gump by Dr. Kim. Dr. Kim, and I've downloaded that presentation, which I'll present as soon as I'm finished the broadcast tonight. I'll run it over just a presentation. I think the presentation goes for about an hour. Colin Stanley Gump, the Australian astronomer who unveiled the Milky Way. Some very, very interesting information about Stanley and Colin. I keep calling him Stanley. Colin. And it's such a shame that he was on a skiing expedition or skiing trip overseas, and he just went flying over a cliff to his death. Unbelievable. Anyway, he was doing so well. Anyway, I'll let Dr. Kim talk about that, because it really is an interesting presentation. Having said that, let me see. Let's just talk about the Astronomical Society very quickly for those that aren't aware. The ASV is a non-profit society for people interested in astronomy, attracting and catering for people from a wide range of ages and backgrounds, abilities and interests. First formed in 1922, the society has grown to over 1,800 members now, I believe. Its activities are coordinated by a council of elected office bearers, section directors and ordinary councillors. The ASV has weekly activities at our two metropolitan locations, the Morley Community Village and the Melbourne Observatory. And we host monthly Astro Talks at the Herbarium near the Melbourne Observatory, or the Morley Hall. The Society's library is also located at the Melbourne Observatory and is open during our Astro Talks. For over 50 years, the ASV has played a major role in the care of the buildings and facilities of the Melbourne Observatory. Our members conduct astronomy for the people gatherings throughout the year, bringing telescopes and astronomy to the Melbourne parks and streets and schools. It's suggested here to check the calendar, the online calendar on the ASV website, for details about when these astronomy for the people gatherings are occurring, and you can show up. The ASV is currently involved in a number of major projects. We are involved in the restoration of the Great Melbourne Telescope, which I think we're looking at 2027 now for that project to come to a kind of a conclusion. Not too sure at this stage. Things have been one way or another. Things keep delaying that project, but it is evolving. So the Great Melbourne Telescope, which is currently working on the installation of a series and also the ASV is working on the installation of a series of remote telescopes at the Dark Sky site, which once completed will be accessible to members for their use. And as far as I know, the 3 domes are available for members to use now. Thanks to a generous donation from one of its most long-standing and respected members, the Leon Mao Dark Sky site, located north of Melbourne, has pristine night sky for deep sky observing. The ASV has a 25-inch telescope, a 40-inch telescope, and a wheelchair-accessible 16-inch telescope at the Dark Sky site, and makes use of the existing telescopes at the Melbourne Observatory during some section meetings, and our members' nights held once a month at the observatory. The annual yearbook, which I've just received. In fact, let me just hang 10 for a minute. I'll walk off the microphone here. Of course, if you were doing this in a newsroom environment on 6 o'clock news, you wouldn't be able to do that. But this is not the 6 o'clock news. Anyway, this is for those watching TV, and I've got to make sure I'm using the right camera. This is the package that you get from the ASV. It's got the latest crux in it, which you can see there on screen, the latest magazine. And in there is also the latest annual book, yearbook is what I'm trying to say. And I'm just trying to rip open the plastic here. It's a pretty tough plastic, but we're getting there. Plenty of sound effects. Alright, so this is the latest yearbook. Oh, look at that. Isn't it beautiful? This is the publication that ASV produces once a year. And as you can see, it's a nice glossy yearbook, kind of like an almanac. There's the logo, the ASV logo, minus the reflection. And it's this thick. So and it's just beautiful publication. Smells brand new. I love the smell of new books. And for those watching TV, I'll just flick through the pages really quickly so you can get a bit of a quick idea. So you're watching. There you go. And there's lots of information in there. So it's just worth being a member of the ASV just for this publication. So yeah. And somewhere in there is the usual other thing I usually read out too. The Astronomical Society was founded in 1922, comprises over... see, they've updated that now. Oh, so this is actually updated, this. Let me just read this out to see how updated this is. The Astronomical Society of Victoria was founded in 1922, comprises over 1,800 members. Last time that was 1,600. Throughout Victoria, the other states of Australia and overseas, membership of the Society is open to all persons with an interest in astronomy. The Society's objectives are to encourage the study and practice of astronomy, to disseminate the knowledge of the science, and to provide greater facilities for the study among its members. Monthly meetings are usually held on the second Wednesday of each month, except in January, with the latter being held on a Saturday night. Meetings start at 8 p.m. at the Mulia Hall, Burwood Avenue, Melbourne, near the Melbourne Observatory, which is located adjacent to the Shrine of Remembrance. Meetings are also live streamed for those who cannot attend. That's new. Parking is available in Burwood Avenue, Dallas Brooks Drive, and the surrounding streets. Admission is free, and visitors are most welcome. Privileges of membership. Privileges of membership include the right to borrow books, periodicals and other publications from the Society's extensive library located at Melbourne Observatory, receipt of the ASV's magazine Crux containing articles, news, observing notes and the like, and the free provision of the Astronomical Yearbook, which is what I'm reading from right now. Access is available to the telescopes on members' nights held regularly at the Melbourne Observatory and after the monthly meetings, weather permitting. These instruments include the Society's 300mm equatorial reflector, a 300mm portable reflector, and the 200mm and there's also a 200mm refractor managed by the Royal Botanic Gardens and a recently restored photoheliograph. So that's a line that they should modify. A recently restored photoheliograph. You know, that recent restoration was probably about 10 years ago or more. So that's old. They should have changed that. The 200mm refractor, managed by the Royal Botanic Gardens, and I've already read that. The Society also has a number of 200mm reflectors available for short period loan. A member can gain practical experience in use of one of these telescopes before deciding whether or not to buy one of their own. The regular Society meetings are held at the Morley Community Village in Bentley East. Members are encouraged to use the Society's instruments located there in order to gain first-hand experience in telescope use, so there's something different there. Members are also encouraged to make use of the Society's country property located near Heathcote, some 90-minute drive north of Melbourne. It provides dark sky suitable for astrophotography. It sounds a bit different. There is a range of instruments available for members to use, the larger two only with appropriate training, which range from 300mm to 1000mm in aperture. Also located on the site is a fully steerable 8.5 metre radio telescope, which can be accessed with involvement with the radio astronomy section. Good evening to any RAS members that happen to be listening. Members are encouraged to make and use telescopes. Advice and help on both matters are provided willingly to newcomers desiring to do the same. Instrument making is only one of the several common interest activities catered for within the Society. Other areas of interest that members can participate in include deep sky observing, astrophotography, lunar and planetary observing, auroral, meteor, comet, radio astronomy, computing, cosmology and astrophysics, historical studies, and research and astronomy in general. Contact details for various section directors can be found on the ASV's website. Further information may be obtained by visiting the ASV website, and notifications of events are given in the Crux Extra bulletin sent out via email to members. Please note that the ASV will conform to all government health directives. Thus, ASV events may be required to be cancelled, moved or postponed. If you wish to write to the ASV, the address is to address the envelope to the Secretary, Astronomical Society Victoria, GPO Box 1059, Melbourne, Victoria 3001. Yep, they've actually added the website below that, but that's not part of the mailing address. So it's the Secretary, Astronomical Society Victoria, GPO Box 1059, Melbourne, Victoria 3001. More information about the Society, of course, can be gleaned from the website at www.asv.org.au, www.asv.org.au for more information. And plenty of magnificent pictures in here too. The image of the Dolphin Head Nebula, taken by Alistair Marlowe at Kyneton, Victoria. I mean, this is just a stunning image. Over 3 nights in April 2024, he was using an Explore Scientific 127mm ED refractor. All sorts of other information's just there, processed with PixInsight. And he was using a Poseidon C Pro camera. Anyway, I'll just show you this picture as an example of what our astrophotographers are capable of doing. Isn't that an amazing image photographed there? Look at that. So just got to get the right angle here. You wouldn't believe that such objects exist in space, but there it is, you know, with a telescope and a camera attached to it. You can take those sorts of pictures. Isn't that absolutely stunning stuff? So join the ASV to find out more about that. And this is the Crux, the latest Crux, with a picture of Parkes radio telescope on it. It really should have been the radio telescope at Dark Sky site, really, but it doesn't matter. Although they're probably referring to NACA. We had the conference up there at Parkes early this year. So we're just flipping through that. There's some very interesting pictures in there. Astrophotography highlights by ASV members. Let me see if I can just get you to have a quick look at that. So there's some there's some amazing images taken there by our ASV members. Too much glare. I'm looking at the repeater monitor. So yeah, and here's another one. This image this is the Barred Spiral Galaxy NGC 1365, taken by John Kazanas from the Leon Mao Dark Sky site. He was using a 10-inch CDK telescope and a ZWO 1600mm camera. A total of 16.5 hours exposure. Yeah, so there it is, and this is the Barred Spiral Galaxy NGC 1365 photograph from our Dark Sky site up at Heathcote, and this is the sort of thing that you can get when you do that. So it's pretty amazing. Sorry about the glare there off the studio lights, but that's. Yeah, so anyway, that's the latest magazine from ASV. So that's the sort of thing that you can get if you join the ASV. 10:23 already, my goodness. I'll just have a quick look at my text messages to see if anybody has sent me a message. No. All right, it's all right. Now, let me see if there's any emails that have come through. In fact, I don't have my email open. Let me just do that quickly. Just minimizing 100 things here to get to it. I've got to do this, haven't I? Strength. Just bear with me a sec while I open up my mail. I had to restart the computer before I went on, so I lost a few things. All right, mail is opening in vk3ekh@gmail.com, and Stephen has written looking up. He says, Mr. B, Mr. HK, a quick look up in tonight's bright clear sky showed Venus to the west, Saturn to the north, Jupiter to the north, and Orion to the east. Very good, Steve. You know your stuff. All right. Back to VMix. All right. Now, next thing on the list here is I've mentioned about Colin Stanley Gump. That was a very interesting presentation. Like I say, I'll rerun the presentation after the broadcast tonight on Discord, and may as well throw it across on YouTube as well as the repeater. Sky Notes. Now, I've read out Sky Notes last week, but I didn't finish off all the dates that were there. So I'll make it, I can't remember where I finished off last week, but I'll start off with the 21st of December. On the on the 21st of December 1988, cosmonauts Vladimir Titov and Musa Manarov make the longest space flights, 365 days, 22 hours, 39 minutes on the Soviet space station Mir. Also on the 21st of December to the 27th of December 1968, Apollo 8, first manned craft to orbit the moon, 10 orbits, and at 110 kilometers from the surface, imaging landing sites and the iconic Earthrise photo. On the 24th of December 1979, ESA's first launch vehicle, Ariane 1, France, orbits its first test satellite, CAT-1. Also, on the 27th of December 1571, discoverer of laws of planetary motion by Johannes Kepler is born. Johannes Kepler, born on the 27th of December 1571. Remember that date. 27th of December 1571, Johannes Kepler. I remember watching in Carl Sagan's Cosmos, where he dedicated probably half the episode to Johannes, Mr. Kepler, and how he was fascinated by how the geometry and planetary motion came about, and he was trying to construct a device that illustrated how the geometry of the planets were configured, and it wasn't having much success because he was using bits of string to try and support things to make it some sort of sense out of it, and it didn't work for him. But nevertheless, the man finally worked out planetary motion, and it was quite interesting. Cosmos. If you haven't seen Cosmos, Carl Sagan's Cosmos, do yourselves a favour. It's only 13 episodes, so you binge watch it in one sitting. You could easily do it. On the 28th of December, 1612, Neptune is observed for the first time, but mistaken as a star by Galileo. Last date, on the 30th of December 1924, astronomer Edward Hubble announces faint nebulae are actually galaxies beyond our own. Now that's something that was of interest in the Colin Stanley Gump presentation by Dr. Kim on Wednesday. How for quite a long time astronomers thought that a lot of these remote galaxies were actually some sort of nebula associated with the Milky Way that they were observing. But as it's pointed out here, 1924, Edward Hubble announces faint nebula are actually galaxies beyond our own. Anyway, that's the Sky Notes, courtesy of Tanya Hill. I assume it's still Tanya Hill that presents those for us. All right. Now, you might have noticed on the news tonight that they're talking about the Ganymede meteor shower coming up this weekend, mostly tomorrow morning. Once upon a time, in the Green Guide, Perry of Laos, former president of the United States, the president of the ASV is what I was trying to say. Although Perry probably would do a better job, actually, over Trump. But anyway, having said that, he's written an article on his Facebook page. Perry has a dedicated Facebook page on astronomy, Perry of Laos Astronomy. Anyway, he's got a thing here tonight about the Geminid meteor shower to put on a show, is how he's titled that. Now, there is a little graphic that is associated with this article, so I shall just bring up this little graphic, which is down here somewhere. There it is. So his article refers to this. Oh, I've got the wrong ID up on the screen. Hang on. Let me just get rid of that. There we go. All right. What's that noise? It's a funny noise just there. I can hear a noise. Don't know what that is. Anyway. Okay, Perry writes. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Perry used to write a regular article in the Green Guide Thursday. Every fortnight, actually, I think it was every fortnight. The editor was quite happy to allow Perry to on behalf of the Astronomical Society of Victoria, sort of thing, to write an article. And I used to cut them out of the article and read them. Made it like the first item that I used to read here on the broadcast many years ago. But then there was a change of editor, and they decided that the astronomy article wasn't of interest anymore, so they got rid of that. And that was the last time I ever bought The Age for that, because of that. Perry writes that if you've been waiting for an exciting meteor shower, then wait no more. For over the next 3 mornings, you may get the opportunity to wish on that falling star. Your wish won't be answered, but you may see a stunning meteor shower, he writes. The Geminids are perhaps the best meteor shower of the year for the Southern Hemisphere and will be active after midnight tonight and into Friday morning, the 13th of December, and Sunday morning, the 15th of December, with modest rates of 5 to 10 per hour. However, the best of it will be Saturday morning, 14th of December, between midnight and dawn, when you may see as many as 20 or 30 meteors per hour during this peak from a dark sky site in the country away from city lights. From the city and suburbs, expect to see half that number, and with the moon getting brighter, perhaps even less than that, as bright moonlight has an effect on the fainter ones, just like light pollution. He says, I don't want to build the Geminids up too much due to the moon being present in the sky, but this is the one to tell your family and friends about, he says. However, it does not come easy on a silver platter. You have to put some time into it. You must observe for at least an hour continuously to see meteors. By the way, don't take seriously any news item or social media post suggesting many dozens or hundreds of meteors will be seen, because it means they have never observed a meteor shower and don't know what they're talking about. So, temper your expectations and expect low numbers rather than the hyperbole, and you'll not be disappointed. You can read all about the details of where the Geminids originate. Parent body is an asteroid called Pantheon. I'm not sure if I'm getting that right. And what they are composed of, fine particles about the size of grains of sand elsewhere on the net and press. He says, I'm just going to give you the essentials of how to do it at this stage. So firstly, even though you can begin observing straight after midnight tonight and tomorrow night, the highest rates will be the couple of hours prior to dawn. Nothing is guaranteed, however, as meteor observing is not yet an exact science. The chart that he's got here, I've got up on the screen right now. The chart shows the northern sky at approximately 1:30 a.m. The radiant, where the meteors appear to radiate from, if you run their tail backwards, is Castor and Pollux in Gemini, the constellation Gemini. But it's not important that you identify the radiant in the sky to see the shooting stars. All you need to do is gaze in the general direction of the northeast part of the sky, about halfway up. In reality, meteors could appear anywhere. Whilst waiting for meteors, you could also compare the orange-red colours of Betelgeuse, Mars and Aldebaran. Also, find the brighter Jupiter. You'll also find bright Jupiter and some of the notable stars this time of the year. But take no notice of the other two showers in the chart, Monocerotids and Ionids, as they are very minor, and you'd be fortunate to see even one meteor from them. If you're thinking of using a telescope, you're doing it wrong. Don't bother taking it out. It's all just naked eye work, because the meteors move too fast for a telescope to track or to know which part of the sky they'll appear in and aim there. Find a spot away from direct lights and get into a sleeping bag to stay warm. Sit in a banana lounge, get your eyes dark, adapted and look up and wait. Keep a flask of warm beverage handy and look to the northeast for at least an hour. Report your successes here, he says, and share your observations with others. It's also more fun to share this adventure in astronomy with family and loved ones. So he says, clear skies and good luck. Thank you, Perry. And I'm not sure if I'll be up looking for the the Geminids, but anyway, this is for amateur radio amateurs, of course. Here's an opportunity to do meteor scatter. So certainly, if you've got the necessary equipment to do meteor scatter on 6, 2, and 70 centimeters, tomorrow morning. This weekend, but tomorrow morning would be a good opportunity to experiment with reflecting signals off the ionised trail from meteors. Could be interesting. You're tuned to ASV Radio, VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel, the official station of the Astronomical Society of Victoria. Thanks, Perry. Here's a very quick article. Not trying to make a big deal about Trump, baby, but he's already doing things before he even becomes officially president. There's a picture associated with this quick article, and I'll bring that up. Okay. Courtesy of astronomy.com. Trump chooses first private spacewalker Gerard Isaacman as NASA's head. The billionaire tech entrepreneur says Americans will walk on the moon and Mars. President-elect Donald Trump has picked private astronaut and billionaire tech entrepreneur, I can't pronounce that word, Gerard Isaacman as an administrator for NASA. Trump confirmed the nomination on Wednesday in post on something called X. Gerard will drive NASA's mission of discovery and inspiration, paving the way for groundbreaking achievements in space science, technology and exploration. Trump wrote in the post, over the past 25 years as the founder and CEO of Shift 4, Gerard has demonstrated exceptional leadership building a trailblazing global financial technology company. He also co-founded and served as CEO of Draken International, a defense aerospace company, for over a decade, supporting the US Department of Defense and our allies. Isaacman is 41. Was the first commercial astronaut to perform a private spacewalk in September when he left the SpaceX capsule hundreds of miles above Earth. The nomination drew praise from ex-CEO Elon Musk, who made a post congratulating Isaacman. Isaacman thanked Trump for the nomination in a post on X, saying that the second space age was just beginning. Americans will walk on the moon and Mars, and in doing so, we will make life better here on Earth. Isaacman said that in the post, it is the honour of a lifetime to serve in this role and to work alongside NASA's extraordinary team to realise our shared dreams of exploration and discovery. And I suspect Isaacman is the fellow on the right there. Otherwise, the other two ladies. Anyway, so there it is. We have a new lead for NASA. Well, we'll just see how that pans out. In the picture, by the way, Polaris Dawn crew members. From left is Anna Menon, Sarah Gillis and Gerard Isaacman speak on a panel during the 2024 summit at some place in USA. So our female astronauts are looking better every year, aren't they? All right, back to me. I'm pretty ordinary, so I'm not much to look at, really. Now, I've got to keep my eye on the time. It's amazing how the 40 minutes has just gone past here. The next thing I was going to talk about, let me see. Oh, yeah. I might squeeze that in. Can you view Pluto in a backyard telescope, you might ask yourself? Because that's certainly something I'm going to be doing when I get my observatory up and running, is to observe Pluto. And there's a little picture here associated with this article, so I shall bring that up. There it is. An 11-inch scope will reveal Pluto and a few similar faint stars, but a large instrument will improve your odds a lot. The author says here, if I'm being honest, Pluto is difficult for an amateur astronomer to see. A standard 8-inch telescope just won't do the trick. That's because Pluto hasn't been brighter than 14th magnitude since the fall of 2004. It reached perihelion, which is closest approach to the Sun, in September 5, 1989, when it peaked at a magnitude 13.8. Since then, it's been moving farther away. That trend won't stop until it hits the aphelion, which is the farthest distance from the Sun, in February 2114. That's a while ago. He says, as I write this, the planet's magnitude stands at 14.4. An 11-inch telescope will reveal Pluto and a few similarly faint stars, but if you have a friend or involved in an astronomy club or society with a larger instrument, your odds will improve a lot. You'll also need a site with good seeing atmospheric stability and the night with no moon. Another thing to take into account is that you want to try to spot Pluto within the time period spanning from a month before until a month after it reaches opposition, the point in the sky opposite the Sun as seen from the Earth. That's when it will stand highest in the sky at midnight. This year, Pluto reached opposition on the 23rd of July. In 2025, it will be at that point, July 25, still at magnitude 14.4. On that date, it will lie in the southwestern Capricornus, 9.5 north of magnitude 7.8 star. Yes, you have to read the article. Now, seeing Pluto is one thing, but identifying it is another. Here's what I mean, says the author. Any high-quality go-to mount can point its telescope at Pluto after just a few button pushes. But to truly say that you've seen it, you must identify the faint dot in the field of view that's moving against the background stars, and a single night isn't long enough for that. Neither is your memory. So move your scope to what you think or what your go-to mount tells you is Pluto's position. Insert a medium power eyepiece, then carefully, as accurately as you can, make a sketch of what the eyepiece is showing you. Right. Because Pluto moves on the order of 4 minutes per day, so 4 seconds a day. Make your next observation and sketch 3 or 4 days after the first one. Your brain will quickly identify the pattern of stationary stars. The dot that moved is Pluto. Although the process required to spot the distant world is time-consuming, you'll feel a sense of accomplishment having done it. So good luck, he says. So yes, you can view Pluto with a suitable telescope, and if you've got a telescope that's computer-controlled, then you've got a good chance of being able to capture what you're seeing on the screen at the moment. For instance, is pretty much what the author was just saying, is to take various images. If you've got a camera attached to your telescope, you can take photographs over a period of nights, and again against the starry background, which is basically not moving. The Pluto will be the object that will move amongst that star field, and then you'll be able to say for sure that was Pluto. Fascinating stuff. All right. It's 14:02. Where's my VMix? You're tuned to ASV Radio, VK3 EKH. Now, given that Tamitha's report is about 10 minutes, what I might do is just queue up Tamitha's solar report, and we'll run with that and see what she has to report on. Like I say, this report came out just a couple of days ago. So anyway, all right, we'll let it go and see what happens. This is VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel. Stand by.
We have some fast solar wind, a filament that barely hangs on, and a big flare player fires a near-Earth directed solar storm. Those stories and more in the news this week. If you want to learn how weather from our star causes impacts at the Earth that shape the future of our world, join Professors Dr. Jenny Meehan, Michael Cook, and myself as we guide you through a space weather certificate program like no other. To enroll in the Space Weather and Environment Science program offered at Millersville University, go to millersville.edu/SWEN. It's weather for the 21st century. Space weather this week is staying a bit on the calm side. As we take a look at our Earth-facing disk, we do have a lot of active regions in Earth view, including a couple big flare players like region 3912 and region 3917. But most of the activity this week is from small little mini solar storm eruptions and from some fast solar wind we're seeing from this coronal hole and soon from this big coronal hole right here. But what's interesting is we're taking a look at this kind of set of filaments right here that looks a bit like a 3. Believe it or not, this is not the first time we've seen this particular filament cluster. This was here last rotation and maybe even the rotation prior to that. The top part of it is beginning to look a bit unstable, but it manages to hang on even as it rotates through the Earth strike zone. But we'll be paying more attention to it as it goes through. Meanwhile, region 3912 is getting much more active as it rotates to the west limb. In fact, early on the 8th, it fires an X2.2 class flare. You see it right here. Bam! This actually caused an R3 level radio blackout over Africa and the Indian Ocean. And it also fires a solar storm. You can see a jet of plasma going by right there. As we take a closer look at it, you can watch the blast wave. Boom! So this was a big solar storm launch. It just doesn't look like it was Earth directed. So when you take a look at it in coronagraphs, you can see this thing launch right out here, and it kind of looks like it's just going to go off to the west of us. But take a closer look at this area here, and in here, it actually does look like some of this might be a shock wave that's gone past center disk here, and that means we might have just a little bit of a shock wave glancing by Earth and causing a little bit of disruption, and that's going to be centered right in that fast solar wind that we're already beginning to experience. So over the next couple days, aurora photographers at high latitudes, you might actually get a little bit of something from this solar storm, believe it or not. But meanwhile, as we go back to the disk, there's not a lot of other stuff going on. We've been paying very close attention to region 3917 because it is a big X-flare player, and we've got a few new regions that are going to be rotating into Earth view over the next couple days, but with also this big filament right here, but it doesn't look like it's about to erupt, so we're just kind of sitting in hurry up and wait mode to see whether or not we're going to get any more Earth-directed solar storms or if that risk for big flare activity is going to stay high. Now, returning to that Earth-directed or near-Earth-directed solar storm launch, we switch to our solar storm prediction model, NLL. Now, this is NASA's version of the model. You're looking down at the sun from the North Pole with Earth being off to the right. And as I set this model in motion, you'll see that solar storm launch off to the west of Earth. But as you can see, it basically is getting really close. In fact, if we had a shock wave in front of it, you'd see that this actually does look like it grazes Earth a little bit. When we take a look at the impact footprint, you can see there is a little bit of a space, but we could get a little bit of wake or something like that from this. So it's going to be a close call. So aurora photographers, if you're looking at early on the 11th, if you're looking to outside and you might be chasing some aurora from the fast solar wind, don't be surprised if you get a little bit of a plus up and the aurora brightens a bit more, because that could easily be the effect of this solar storm. Now, aurora photographers at mid-latitudes, likely it's going to be a wash. We're not going to be able to see all that much, but so only if you're dedicated should you chase. So returning to the disk, we can no longer use stereo A imagery to see the far side of the sun, so we have to use HMI and AIA imagery of about 2 weeks ago to see what might be lurking on the sun's far side. And as we take a look at the imagery from about 2 weeks ago, we can see regions 3898 and 3903 on the sun's far side are about to rotate back into Earth view if these regions are still alive and kicking. And sure enough, as we take a look at the GONG helioseismology far-sighted monitor, you can see regions 3898 popping up on the GONG's little radar here, as well as region 3903 popping up there too. So these two regions are still very, very clear on the sun's far side. They are going to be rotating back into Earth view, and that means that we are going to get likely more flares from them and possibly more solar storms as well. Now, looking at the disk after that, we're probably going to have about 3 or 4 days of kind of blankness right here. So that means the risk for big flares will likely go down after that. But then after about a week, we're going to have old regions 3905 and 3906 rotate back into Earth view, and that's where big flares might actually pick up once again, and the potential for big solar storms. So, aurora photographers, if we don't get anything from the current events happening right now, well, it may not be too long. You may only have to wait for a week before we can get some more action. Switching to our moon, we are now passing through the first quarter phase on our way to a full moon, with a full moon being on the 15th. So you night sky watchers, if you want to catch those dim objects in the sky, like, I don't know, maybe some aurora from the current fast solar wind we're getting right now, or possibly from the Geminids, which will be peaking in and around the 13th and the 14th, you're going to have this bright companion, so you're going to need to check your local rise and set times. Switching to our solar storm conditions and aurora possibilities over the coming week, we are anticipating the glancing blow from that solar storm that is not quite Earth-directed, along with the fast solar wind that we're experiencing right now. So at high latitudes, we're expecting active conditions kind of on and off, but NOAA's giving us up to about a 25% chance of minor storm conditions over the next couple days, with things beginning to settle down after that. So aurora photographers, if you're at high latitudes, you definitely could get a chance for some decent aurora. But as we switch to mid-latitudes, well, the conditions aren't quite as good. We are still dealing with that fast solar wind, but we aren't really expecting that solar storm as it glances by us to give us all that much strength in terms of aurora down at mid-latitudes. NOAA's expecting about a 20% chance of active conditions, possibly a chance for minor storm, but I seriously doubt that. And that's going to be through the 11th, but then by the 12th, things will begin to settle back down. So aurora photographers, if you're at mid-latitudes, well, only if you're dedicated, as I said before, only if you're dedicated should you chase. Now, switching to our solar flare and dayside radio blackout outlook over the coming week, we are still sitting well in the triple digits for solar flux. We're sitting around 175 to 180 thereabouts right now, and that back number might actually dip a little bit as some of these bigger regions rotate to the sun's west limb. But we are still sitting at moderate noise range on the dayside radio bands. NOAA's giving us about a 60% chance of M-class flares. This is at an R1 to R2 level radio blackout over the next day or so. That will dip down just a little bit before it might rise again as we go into next week. We also have about a 10% chance of X-class flares. This is mainly from region 3912 and 3917. So amateur radio operators and emergency responders, expect those R3 level radio blackouts to be a bit of a problem here over the next couple days. Likely that will also calm down as we move throughout the week. Now, as we switch to our radiation storm and polar aviation outlook over the coming week, everything is pretty much in the green. We are sitting at the D1 normal range. This is for you aviators at flight level 360. It's also the S0 quiet range for everybody else. NOAA is giving us about a 10% chance of an S1 to S2 level radiation storm over tomorrow, and then things should calm back down. That's because region 3912 is rotating to the west limb right now, and that always elevates that risk. But likely things are going to be fine as it rotates to the sun's far side. So all you frequent flyers and air crew, looks like you're all in the green this week, and so all is clear. So the space weather this week is staying a bit on the calm side. Now we do have a couple pockets of fast solar wind from some coronal holes that are rotating in through the Earth's strike zone. And aurora photographers at high latitudes, you could be getting some aurora right now. And likely that's going to be enhanced by a solar storm that's moving mainly west of Earth. But it does look like either the shock wave or a little bit of the wake could actually hit us starting early around the 11th. And that could enhance the aurora at high latitudes for about a day or so before things calm down. But aurora photographers at mid latitudes, well, likely it's not really going to move the needle, so you're likely going to have to sit this one out and wait for some better storming. Now, amateur radio operators and emergency responders, well, we've had a big radio blackout at an R3 level just the other day. That is, big risk, but things are definitely calming down because that region 3912, is rotating to the sun's far side. And it looks like region 3917, although we're watching it, may not give us any big R3 level radio blackouts. So likely things and the risk is going to calm down over the next couple days before things begin to ramp up again in about a week. So enjoy the respite while you have it. I'm Tamara the Scove, the Space Weather Woman. Thank you for watching.
Okay, my level's up. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5. Thank you, Timothy Scove, for the latest weather report. And yep, things are afoot. Okay. All right. Well, what I'll do is go across to spaceweather.com. This is the latest image of the sun as we speak. And let me just bring up the website. The solar wind is currently at 342.4 kilometers a second at a density of 2.12 protons per cubic centimeter. This is the current disk of the sun, well, at least as of the 12th of December. As mentioned last week, all the imagery that usually is supplied on the internet, as the note says here, there was a flood at the Stanford University and it has damaged a number of important SDO data servers. Repairs will not be completed until 2025. As a result, for the foreseeable future, daily sun images will be coming from readers of spaceweather.com. And the comment there is, thank you, citizen scientists. So images that we see here on the screen will be coming mostly from amateur astronomers or other facilities that can photograph images of the sun and show you where the sunspots are. So let's hope that the repairs at Stanford University on their servers get sorted out fairly quickly. But as we speak, there are at least four regions there carrying some decent sunspots, as can be seen on the screen. The current aurora over Antarctica looks like this. So there's actually a reasonable 50% chance of seeing aurora low on the horizon, but it's not really extending too far to the mainland. But there is certainly some activity occurring, and the auroral glow is quite distinct at the moment. So yeah, also, oh, pardon me. Yep. Now this is the coronal hole. There is a couple of, or at least one particular coronal hole that is visible on the surface of the sun right now, which is that dark patch in the middle there, which is an area where a solar wind can be flowing from, which is enough to graze the Earth, as they say here. There's a reference to the Geminid meteor shower. It says the Geminid meteor shower tonight. Earth is entering a stream of debris from rock comet 3200 Pantheon. Source of the annual Geminid meteor shower. Forecasters expect the shower to peak on Friday night, December the 13th, with a dozen or so meteors per hour. The best time for looking is 2 a.m. Saturday morning, when the constellation Gemini is high in the sky. Of course, that's in reference to the Northern Hemisphere. Now, the other article here, and I've got a picture to show as well, associated with this article. Super flares on sun-like stars. The article says that now we have to worry about super flares. A new study published yesterday in Science concludes that sun-like stars in the Milky Way produce super flares approximately once every 100 years. Super flares are solar flares more than 50 times stronger than the Carrington event. If one hit Earth, it could bring down power grids, disable satellite networks, and more. Led by Valery Velesev of the Max Planck Institute in Göttingen, Germany, a team of 10 astronomers looked at the brightness measurements of 56,000 sun-like stars, far more than any previous study. The data were collected by NASA's Kepler Space Telescope, which looks like this. Kepler Space Telescope is just amongst my pictures. There they are. It's Kepler. Where are we? Yep, Kepler Space Telescope between 2009 and 2018. They say that they identified 2,889 super flares on 2,572 sun-like stars. And they wrote in the paper, the detection rate indicates that the super flares had energies greater than 10 to the power of 34 energy occur roughly once per century on stars with sun-like temperature and variability. Previous studies of sun-like stars reached very different conclusions. Those studies found that frequencies are approximately 2 orders of magnitude lower than other measurements. Super flares would be expected only once every 1,000 to 10,000 years, relatively safe interval. Anyway, so yes, you'd have to read the rest of that article to appreciate that. But anyway, I don't think we have much to worry about super. But if we got a super flare from our own sun, then yes, we've got something to worry about. All right. Finally, in the spaceweather.com, the radio sun, I forgot to mention that. The sunspot number is currently 91. The radio sun, measured at a wavelength of 10.7 centimetres, is 161 solar flux units. The KP index, planetary K index, KP is equal to 1.67, which is considered quiet. The 24-hour max KP figure is also 1.67, which is also considered as quiet. If you go to spaceweather.com, a lot of these references that I make have links to more explanations of what the terms mean. As of the 13th of December 2024, there were 2,349 potentially hazardous asteroids, but none of these potentially hazardous asteroids are on a collision course with Earth. All right, that's spaceweather.com in a nutshell. I think that's about a wrap at 5 minutes past the hour. My YouTube stream hasn't fallen over yet, so that's been good. But I bet as soon as I stop transmitting and pick up a few of you stations wanting to check in tonight, that's where it will fall over. So I'm going to make apologies ahead of that from happening. Hopefully it won't. All right, getting my notepad ready. And let me see. I always like to feed a little bit of audio over the digital channels. So just making sure I've got that level right. That should be okay. All right, I'll finish up there. So this is VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel. I shall take a quick listen on the frequency for any stations wishing to check in. Just getting my pad right. And I think we're a go ahead for this. VK3 EKH listening on 3541.
VK3GL. VK3GL. VK3STX. This is VK3KIS. VK3 Whiskey Alpha Yankee.
Okay. I'm not sure if I had my level up well enough on that, but anyway. Acknowledging VK3GL, VK3JR, VK3TJS, VK3SBX, VK3KIS, and VK3AWAY. Is there any other stations wishing to check in? VK3EKH. Okay. Graham in Bunyip, VK3GL, VK3EKH. Go ahead, old man.
Yeah, well, I've now turned 60, so I guess that's the case. VK3 EKH, VK3GL. Yeah, very good evening there, Clint. Good evening to everyone else who has checked in this evening. Good signal from you here on 80 metres. You've been a solid 30 over 9 all night. I've been listening, but in the background, so I sort of have to apologise for not taking a whole lot in. About the only bit that I really got to watch much of tonight was Tamitha's session towards the end of what's happening with all the space weather. So didn't manage to get an opportunity to concentrate on anything too much else this evening other than having your broadcast going in the background. It's been a bit busy at work this evening nonetheless. Anyway, good to hear you there, Clint. I may have a word or two to you if you're free after the callback session this evening. And I guess everything else that you presented tonight would have been most informative, that's for sure. I note that it's the meteor shower too tonight, so I don't know what time the peak of that is. I think it's sort of the wee small hours of the morning,